This is a 1 in 50 variant of the most expensive Silver Age comic book. You'd probably think it would be worth a fortune, but it sells at a discount relative to the regular issue. In fact, it sometimes sells less than a restored copy of the book. Yikes! Why do collectors hate it so much? Let's investigate the strange story of the Marvel UK price variance. A little later, I'll bring on two special guests who will give their opinions on the matter. First, though, let's cover the basics. The telltale sign of the UK price variance is, well, the price. They look like this as opposed to this. And what in the heck does 9D mean anyway? It stands for 9 pence, and pence is the plural of penny. But pence doesn't start with the D, you might groan. Great observation. The British chose to use the Latin word denarius to represent this denomination. And my God, British coinage was complicated back in the day. A pound was divided into 20 shillings, and each shilling was then further divided into 12 pence. Therefore, it took 240 pence to make a pound. Fortunately, beginning in 1971, the UK began shifting to a decimal-based system where 100 pence equals a pound. School children across the country rejoiced over the simpler math. The first known pence copies of Marvel books are from 1960 and can be found through 1981, at which point direct editions of the comic books had dual cents pence pricing, thus making UK price variance unnecessary. By the way, a big shout out to Rare Comics for the excellent overview of the topic. I've linked to their site in the description box as well as to sources from John McClure, who is an expert on variance and coined the term Type 1A cover price variant for books such as these UK price variants, which is defined as follows. In simplified language, the UK price variants are nearly identical to the standard version, except for the price. They were printed in the USA using the same printing presses at the same time as the books distributed domestically. They're not so foreign after all. That said, the number of copies for the UK price variants are much lower than the standard version, perhaps 5% or even less. Accordingly, the amount of UK price variants showing up on census is low, very low. Let's compare the census numbers of a few Marvel keys in the standard version versus the UK price variant. First up is Fantastic Four number 1, 2,737 to only 31 UK price variants. Book 1 sits at 1,964 for the 12 centers to only 52 as the pence price variants. Amazing Fantasy 15, the first appearance of Spider-Man, has 3,661 on census to only 75. And what about Avengers number 1? I happen to own a UK price variant of this great book. 4,997 for the standard issue to only 85. Yeah, the UK price variants are legitimately rare. And I'm talking rare like Golden Age comic rare. It just so happens that the number of Amazing Fantasy 15 UK price variants is the exact number on census as Action Comics number 1. Let's talk about price. Sources differ, but I've heard that typically the discount from the regular version to the UK price variant is roughly a 20 to 50% discount. And of course, that's despite the relative rarity of the UK price variants. Case in point, Ryan from Automatic Comics recently profiled 3 copies of AF-15, each at a 2.0. They all sold at the same Heritage Auction event. The standard version sold for the most. Then, unbelievably, the restored version was the next most expensive, and trailing was the UK price variant, which blows my mind. Why would you pay more money for a restored book than the UK price variant? At this time, let's turn to our guest. Dr. Chaz Bigglesworth is an expert in collectibles and he hails from Princeton University. Mr. Pistol McCoy is a comic collector from anywhere, USA. The question that I'm asking both of them is why are the UK price variants so much cheaper than the standard version? Dr. Bigglesworth, let's start with you.
Thanks for having me on, Keston. I consulted with my colleagues from those lesser known universities, Harvard and Yale, and we just don't get it. The math doesn't add up. We would think that the UK price variance would be worth a lot more money. Let me explain. In broad strokes, comic book prices are predicated on 3 factors. Notability. Did something really cool happen in that comic book? For example, a first appearance of a major character. The second factor is rarity. The rarer the comic book, the better. And finally is condition. The better the condition, the better. Now, all these three factors work together. For example, just because a book is rare doesn't mean it's going to be valuable. It has to also be noteworthy. And if you put a rare book that's noteworthy in really nice condition, why that book is going to be worth the most. Let's apply these principles to a famous price variant. Star Wars #1 from 1977. The standard version sold for 30 cents. Simultaneously, Marvel was exploring a 5-cent price hike, so they piloted a 35-cent price variant in a few markets. Let's examine the situation from a notability, rarity, and condition perspective. The same thing happened for each of these books. It's the first time that Star Wars appeared in comic books. Yeah, that's a pretty big deal. Rarity, this is where the two versions differ quite a bit. The 30-cent standard version has 14,000 copies on census. On the other hand, the 35-cent price variant only has about 300 on census. Let's take a look at price. For the 30-cent standard version, it typically sells for between $600 and $800 at that 9.4 level. On the other hand, a recent 35-cent price variant at a 9.4 sold for about $40,000. Given the rarity of the 35-cent version, frankly, we're not surprised. Now, let's go back to the UK price variant. But are they 50 times more expensive? 10 times more expensive? No, they actually sell for a discount. This blows my mind and my colleagues' minds too. Our stance: we believe that the UK price variant is extremely undervalued and you should go out there and buy it right now.
All right, Mr. McCoy, give us your 2 cents.
Oh, please call me Pistol, and I have a different opinion on this matter. These British comic books are way overvalued. I mean, look at that number 9D. Latin, you say? Come on, man. I don't want no pence, pesos, marks, or whatever kind of fancy foreign currency you're talking about. Only two symbols are good in my book, and we're talking about dollars and cents, baby. Dr. Bigglesworth, with all your fancy mathematics, you are missing an important variable in this equation. And that variable is called Made in America, baby. And if you viewers like America, give this video a like, please.
Okay, very different perspectives. Dr. Bigglesworth, would you like to respond?
Yes, indeed. Pistol, with all due respect, you do not have all the correct facts. Keston, as you suggested, these UK price variants were printed at the same time as the 12-cent versions in the United States of America. They are virtually identical except for the price. Pistol, I implore you to change your opinion.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch all that. I was listening to my favorite tune. It's called The Star Spangled Banner. I think you were saying something like these British books were actually manufactured in America, kind of like American Werewolf in London. But you know what? These fine American books have been soiled in the hands of the British people. Terrible folks like Oliver Twist, Mary Poppins, Mr. Bean, and what's that electronica fella's name? Aphex Twin. Anybody should be handling these books. It should be fine American people like Richard Petty, Beyonce, Kim Kardashian, and Larry Bird.
Okay, cool it, Pistol. I wanted to thank you and Dr. Bigglesworth and give a big shout out to viewer Creme de la Creme, who, while watching this amazing video about the rarest Silver Age books, wanted me to talk more about the UK price variance. Thanks so much for stopping by and hope to see you around real soon.
Just saying.